All right, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going on a journey. We're actually going to build a world, create a character, and tell a complete story. But here's the catch. We're only using a handful of very specific words and phrases. Let's see what we can make together.
So this is really the big question for today. Can a handful of words really create a world? I mean, a whole world? I think so. So yeah, let's just dive in and see what happens when we start putting these pieces together.
You know, every story's got to start somewhere. And ours, well, it starts with a character who isn't exactly at the top of his game. Let's go ahead and meet our protagonist.
Okay, so this is Leo, and as you can probably tell, he's not having the best of times. The very first word we're going to use to frame his world is hapless. He's our hapless hero. But what does that actually mean for him?
It basically just means he is seriously unlucky. You know, think of someone who's always under a rain cloud, even on a sunny day. Life just isn't cutting him a break, which honestly makes him the perfect unfortunate soul to start our story with.
And these three words, they just perfectly capture what's going on inside his head. A deep languor, this profound lack of energy, has just completely taken over. Because of that, his ambitions feel flaccid, limp, with no strength at all. And his future, it's totally nebulous, just hazy and undefined, like a thick fog he can't see through.
But even a hapless hero can decide to change his own story. This right here is the moment Leo decides he's had enough of the fog. It is time to take a step.
And there it is, that first absolutely crucial step. He makes a real, conscious decision to put his best foot forward. And that's such a powerful idiom, because it means he's about to give it everything he's got.
So the key here is that Leo isn't just kind of trying. He is committing to trying as hard as he possibly can to change things. For our hero, this is a massive turning point.
But just trying hard isn't quite enough, right? To even get a foot in the door of this new life he wants, he knew the real work had to begin inside his own head. He had to acclimate to a whole new way of thinking about things.
And this really shows you what a challenge that is. Acclimating isn't a single action. It's a whole process of adapting your entire being to a new environment. And for Leo, that new environment was his own state of mind.
A hero's journey is rarely a solo mission. As Leo starts to change, he starts meeting people who are going to shape his path forward, for better or for worse.
So he runs into these two guides who are on completely opposite ends of the spectrum. First, you've got the recluse, who lives totally alone. And then you have the philanthropist, someone who genuinely loves humanity and is always out in the world. What a powerful contrast.
And their personalities were just as different. The recluse was a stoic, totally unfazed by pain or pleasure, just completely unflappable. The philanthropist, on the other hand, was a polyglot, a master of many languages, always connecting with new people and cultures.
So the stoic recluse, true to his nature, gives Leo some pretty harsh advice. He speaks with brutal candor and says, "The world is pillaging your potential." Wow. That's a powerful, almost violent piece of wisdom.
So let's just break that down. Candor is just complete, raw honesty, no sugarcoating. And pillaging, that means looting or stripping something away by force. So the recluse was basically telling him, your inaction is letting the world violently steal your future.
A warning like that is enough to shake anybody up. And the path forward is never a straight line, right? Leo's about to find out just how hard taking risks can actually be.
So, he tries. He signs up for a dance class, to break out of his shell, only to discover he has 2 left feet. It's the perfect idiom for being clumsy and awkward. It's a small failure, but man, is it frustrating.
Then, a real opportunity comes along. Maybe a job interview, a chance to move, but that fear kicks in. He starts to get cold feet, that classic feeling of becoming too nervous to go through with something. The old Leo is definitely fighting back.
And then, a physical setback. Using a series of phrasal verbs here, we can see a whole mini-story play out. First, he comes down with a terrible flu. He's stuck in bed wondering how in the world he came by it. But, and this is the key part, in that moment of weakness, he makes a powerful vow. He will come back from this, and he'll be stronger than ever.
Sometimes it's in those quiet moments, those forced pauses in life, that we find the most clarity. For Leo, getting sick was actually the final piece of the puzzle.
It's in the quiet interstice, that small gap between being sick and getting well, that everything suddenly becomes clear.
The breakthrough doesn't happen in the chaos, but in the space between.
An interstice is just a small, narrow space. But in a story, it can be this tiny, crucial window of opportunity for reflection, for a big realization. It's in these little moments that real transformation can actually happen. And what a transformation it is. He finally decides to put his foot down, to be firm, and just end his old, hapless ways for good. And then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, in a way that's so subtle you can barely notice it at first, a new sense of purpose begins to suffuse or spread through and fill his entire world. So from hapless all the way to a world suffused with purpose, we've built a complete narrative arc. We gave Leo a story. And this really proves the point, doesn't it? The words were always there. The key was just knowing how to use them. Which leaves just one last question, and this one's for you. You have the words. What story will you tell?